Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Teacher Darrell with some lesson tips for you. Yeah, I've been teaching for about a year, over a year, and I've taught almost 1,000 students. And as I've been going through this teaching now and some of the teaching that I've done in the past, teaching music, there's some things that I think are helpful tips for you in case you have not thought of these. So listen up. The first lesson tip I would like to share with you is a way to use that chat box effectively. Okay, so I found out that the chat box, it's not really just for contacting the fireman and talking with him. I use it to communicate with my students. Generally, maybe these are students with a higher level, but I even try to use it with some of the level 3s, maybe not so much with level 2, but those level 3, 4, and 5 on up. If they're not getting the sentence correctly, I've seen people say, he kicked the ball, and so you motion that. That's very good and effective. But if they're able to read, some students, I find like myself, I like to read the words too, along with listening to them. So, hey, I thought, well, let's type those in, and I point down and tell them, hey, look at the chat box. Do you see that? Lots of TPR to get them looking where you would like to have them look. And I found that once they see that, then they recognize, it clicks. I can read that, and sometimes that really helps, especially sometimes if you've got a word where you're trying to teach about using the word "an" in front of a word that begins with a vowel, like apple, unorange, those kind of things, and then other things that just uses the other types of words that just use the article "a," and so I type that in too just to clarify. So I found it effective to help those students that are having a little trouble saying the whole sentence. I have one dear student. I've really grown to love him. It was a struggle somewhat at first. The very first lesson I remember having with him, he was screaming every answer. I'm there turning down the volume, and I say, hey, how are you today? And he says, I'm great. It's just, tone it down a little. But we have developed a great relationship, as I really want him to learn. He struggles so much, the poor guy. It's almost like he has some sort of kind of a learning difficulty, and I have special needs children, so I sort of know about that and pick up on things. So we work through things, we drill things, and the chat box has been effective to help him see and put together what he's hearing with what he's seeing on there. Because he tends to mumble the words. I thought I mumbled words sometimes, but he struggles with that. But then he has these brilliant moments where he gets it. So use that chat box sometimes to type things in. Now, I had a level 5 student, and we were learning the word exoskeleton, right? For things such as shrimp and crawfish and those kind of things, exoskeleton. And so he was having a trouble with some of those. So I separated the syllables out and typed it. And we went over exo, and then we went over skeleton, and that helped it click in his brain. So find ways to use that chat box. So number 2, though, now is, and I touched on this just before, drilling words. Now, this is something I did with music, because sometimes playing a long passage and you have a mistake in the middle, it's really not beneficial. It's kind of a waste of time to go through the whole thing again. And if you make the mistake and then you're starting, I isolate. I take that little section, a measure or 2 measures, and if you're having trouble, and I did this when I practiced, isolate and play those until you get it right, and then start a few more measures ahead. So if you know music, you know what I'm talking about. If not, then I'm getting there to help you in just a moment. But it's drilling those sections and then expanding the sentence until they can say the whole thing. So sometimes with the words, if it's just a word, I will do it in a sing-song voice. Okay? So I will say, let's see, what's a word I could use? Swing, swing, swing. Sometimes I'll use that if you're a Monty Python fan. And I'll go, swing, 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 swing. And they'll get it. And I do these motions where I try to make it fun, that I'm not coming down on them or just correcting them and making it boring. I'll say, swing, and I'll point, swing, point, and I go, swing, swing, and they'll say it 2 times. And I go, swing, swing, swing. Yeah, just like that. With my student with exoskeleton, I used that chat box, but then I said exo. He said exo, exo. We tried to have a rhythm going, exoskeleton. And he sorted it, and I'd go exoskeleton. So if you have a proclivity to music or to rhythm, use that. Use that. It will be helpful. It's amazing how much putting a melody and a rhythm that sometimes helps those vowels and those consonants come together and they blend, and it's just beautiful. So yeah, I'll have them say the word and repeat it, and we'll make fun and we'll do things like that, and they seem to smile and they get it, you know, and makes a game out of it, makes it fun. All right, so that was number 2. Number 3 of my tips today is, have you had that student that is unfocused, or he's kind of mischievous, right? He's kind of getting into some misbehavior. So sometimes there's the student that's just, hello, teacher, I go to school. Right? They're very nervous. They're still unsure. They're still learning, those kinds of things. And then some are just like, they say it, and you get a general feeling that they sort of understand, but they'll say it, and trying to get them to repeat it, they just won't repeat it. They're like, I've done it. I'm ready to move on. So what I found is maybe they're bored. Maybe they are pretty sharp, and they've said it, and they think they want to move on. So I think, well, I won't press the issue now. I will watch my time. They said it pretty good. I wanted them to do it again to reinforce, but I'm going to come back to it. Little do they know, we're going to go back a few slides later on. So if I pick up the pace, some of those students, they actually have engaged, and then they say those sentences really well. And then we'll back up a few slides. I'll say it again, and they'll just automatically say it. And it's like, yeah, great job. You did that really well. And then we move on. So you have to find certain tricks, you might say, to get them going. So I, also sometimes whisper. If they're kind of out there and I'm focused, I'll go whisper, what is this word? You know, or I'll say the word, and then if they're younger, especially, they kind of like that because then they're using different voices, and they'll whisper back, and we'll whisper, and then we'll go loud and crazy, or we'll speak in a really weird voice, and we'll say all the words, right? They're kids. They like to be entertained. It's something fun. Okay? So that's my tip with that. But sometimes, again, that picking up the pace is a real winner for it. And, you know, we may finish early. We might finish in 15 minutes, right? But I didn't get a chance to have like a second or third time to go through just to make sure that it clicked. I back up those slides, try to still make it fun, and then we go through it again, and I get that other part out of them. So try that out, okay? Now, where are we at? Number 4? I've lost track. If you're with me, I think that we're on number 4. Number 4, because this is why I'm mixed up, is because I'm looking at some notes and I skipped over this one. I should have it bigger because, you know, I wear glasses, and it should be bigger even so. Using the cursor. That's what I want to talk about. You may use the cursor. It's great. Use it to help illustrate and point and guide their eyes to that screen. Okay? It's just like when you pick up your whiteboard. So use your whiteboard too. Use those things. But you can use the cursor very effectively. Each time I ask a student to read please, I take the line and I'll kind of do a little mark under it, kind of looping around the sentence that I want them to say. And they know that. And then the words, again, underline those words they're having trouble with. If they're still not seeing it, a circle. Sometimes with those words that have a silent K, I'll draw a line through the K just to remind, hey, this is silent. Or like the word hour. Some students see that H there and they want to pronounce it hour, hour. So I put a slash through the H and then say, hey, it sounds like hour. That's H is silent H. So use that. Use that, circle those words, draw lines, draw an arrow to it. And that helps guide them to those things. Do an illustration if you're trying to get them to draw a line. Some of those slides have, okay, we've got this category of sounds and this category of sounds, and you've got maybe 8 words at the bottom, and you've got to draw lines and match. And if they're just not getting it, then okay, this word is with this. Do you see? So yeah, sometimes those boxes, it might be the long A, and then put those with the short A. So we find cat, and we put that to the short A sound. And then we find bake, put that to the long A sound. Yeah, use that cursor. Find ways to catch their eye and do things with that, right? And while we're on the subject of the cursor, when I first started, it was kind of annoying, and I wondered, what should I do? You have those little students that they just want to draw. Yeah, my student that struggles a lot, he has done that before. Most of the time, I just let him do it. If he's still paying attention and we're talking and he's listening to those words, he'll do it. And if it gets too much, I just hit that erase button, the one that restores the whole slide, and it goes away. He doesn't seem to get too frustrated. He might be, but he doesn't. And then we can see it again real quick before he goes to it. Again, you have that power. If it gets too annoying, you can turn their mouse off for a little bit. And you just have to be careful, because I have one student that when I turned it off, then it got him even more frustrated. So he was starting to shut down a little more. So I did it just for a short time. And then when he noticed that it came back, then he still participated. Another student, when it was shut off, then he kind of got the message, and he didn't do it so much the rest of the time. He kind of gave it up for a little bit. So that was a win. That was great. But, if you've had kids, you probably know some of these things. You realize that each of your kids are different. There's different learning styles and how they take it in. So you just got to be adaptable, and you've got to roll with the flow. I've been a jazz musician, so basically you've got to improvise, right? You've got to make it up sometimes on the fly. My final tip of the day, tip number 5, is the writing of feedback. The writing of feedback. Yes. Sometimes the nemesis of us all. But again, for those of you that have Feedback Panda and enjoy that, I think that's very successful for most people, and that's a good way to do it. If you don't have that and are not using that, I have a Mac, and so I have a program called Notes. So I will jot notes down as I go with a student. They're not lengthy because we're still engaged with the student. But if it's a word and I don't want to forget, because I'm older and I forget things, so I will type in a word really quickly that we're drilling and he hasn't gotten it. So that way I remember in feedback, I'm going to address that word. Say, we need to practice pronouncing that word. So I just, like I say, jot those kind of things down later. Then I write my notes out for the feedback in that notes program, and then I copy and paste into the feedback. Now, you may find that's an extra step that's not necessary for you, but I don't know. I just kind of like doing that. It helps get my mind focused. If I need to change something, I do. And also, I keep that kind of as a running record. There's been a few times when I wanted to refer back to a student, like, how is this student doing? If it's one of those that's sort of on and off again regular, I might do that. The ones that are regular each week, I'm kind of remembering what's going on with those and how they're doing. So what else do I have in my notes here? Yes. So I write them out and type them out in my notes program, and then when I'm done, copy and paste into the VIPKID feedback portal. And also, here's another tip, that notes program. Now, if you're a PC user, you might have something similar to this, but there's a search parameter on that too. So again, if it's a student that I want to remember, did I type something in there about an instrument that they play? So I want to talk about that just to make a connection with them. Or there's a favorite sport that they like, or a favorite food that they like. That's sort of like American food, those kind of things. Like, hey, this guy really likes KFC. But I think all of them like KFC. That must be the star food of China for American food is Kentucky Fried Chicken. But I can look at those notes and refresh my memory. They did this. I can refresh my memory also about the rewards that I have used in the past with these students. So I rely heavily on the Google Slides. Thank you so much for all of you that have put in time for that. So I really appreciate that. So I want to take time and tell you thank you for that. And if you haven't subscribed to those, I encourage you to do so. They're a big help. So What is great is that VIPKID has updated the student info so that now you can also find info that you've done in the past there also. So, but I like my notes to have them in there and kind of look back at my students. Okay, so that was a very fast rambling. Sometimes when when I'm really thinking about things, I rattle off. So I'm hoping that wasn't too fast, but I hope it was enjoyable. I hope it was something valuable to you, something that would help you, something maybe you haven't thought of. And I would love to hear from you. So if you have tried some other things that work, I would love to learn too. I always want to learn ways that I can connect with my students. Some are more auditory learners. I mean, we all have to do that with the speaking with them. And some are more visual. Some, we can't really do the kinesthetic, but we still try. The TPR, getting them to do actions and holding up different things for them to see. Anyway, I hope this is helpful for you. And again, if you are thinking about joining VIPKID and becoming a teacher, I would love to be your referring teacher and to help you along the way. Okay? I don't want you to just use my number and then just go it on your own. I want to be able to be a part of helping you with that job. I mean, what a great thing to help someone get a job. So again, my referral code is DARRE0020, or you can reach me at my email. Please do so. They're not giving us emails for me to contact you, so please write to me, give me your email, let me know that you're using my referral code so that I can help you. I promise I will not spam you with a bunch of stuff, but I just want to be helpful. I have kind of a hiring guide that I'm putting together to send you, maybe other videos, and then a way to connect with you if you want some one-on-one help and training. We can do that. We can do that through some sort of video chat. Okay, so send me your email, and my email is Darrell, VIPKID, @gmail.com. And I'll have it at the end anyway, so you can copy it down. All right, so I hope you have a great day. Blessings to you, and happy teaching. Bye-bye.